Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I am your host, Mr. Kadish, getting ready to introduce my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with the man, the myth, the legend, Dutch Butters. He's joining us yet again. Dutch, do you still think watching Magic Mike is gay?
It's very gay. Super gay.
The first one?
All of them. If you're a dude, don't watch that movie. Come on. Why would you even ask me such
It's
a silly
Soderbergh.
question? Don't matter. Why are you gay, Odin?
I'm not. My two kids would prove otherwise.
Hey man, gay dudes can have kids too. So, you know.
What a way to start the stream. God,
Yes.
Why are you gay? Yes.
Why are you gay?
Love you, man. I don't know why Kadish set us up that way. It wasn't very cool of him.
Well, it was because we had today's trailer for the show was you arguing about how gay it was.
It was super.
You are gay.
Yes, you are gay.
You are gay.
Let's get demonetized in the first 5 seconds of the show today. Matt,
Well, we're going to get demonetized no matter what. Speaking of which, Alex, the salty nerd himself.
yes. I'm
Alex,
a master at demonetizing my own channel.
What do you think about the news that the Goonies sequel has been given a green light?
Oh, good. I can't wait until they ruin that franchise too. And then all of you guys.
Did it actually
cry
get a
about
green
it.
light, or did they just get a writer? That's the way I read it. Was they just got a writer?
I'm choosing to believe Deadline when they say that the sequel is a go.
I think it's going to be another casualty, the last remnants of the current
Old Republic.
old republic, yeah. And everybody's going to cry because it's going to suck. And then I'm going to be like, ha! Told you so.
Is Sloth still around? Is old Sloth are going to be there?
Yeah, they're going to have
No,
old
he's
gray
dead.
sloth. I'm going to recast him. He's going to be a black dude.
I wish people would stop giving Corey Feldman hope.
Yes.
Yeah, how's he going to be in the show? He's done, dude. He's just
Hey kids, I'm Corey Feldman. Let's go find some treasure.
No, man.
Let's
He's a
go
freaking
walk
rock
down
star.
a train track, man.
he's going to
Want to go see a dead body?
He's going to moonwalk down the beach.
Just like MJ.
Well, guys, after some very intensive negotiations, Odin's back on the show after a brief hiatus from last week. How was MegaCon, Odin?
Oh, it was a blast.
Now that you're back to slumming it with the salty
Oh,
nerds.
so yeah, you say that. I just always appreciate how well treated I am here. But it was great. It was a lot of fun. And the only thing I will say is I hate the actual MegaCon event itself. And it's not because of anything else other than they oversell it every year. And Saturday is just not fun because there's wall-to-wall people no matter where you go. And it actually a point I was actually showing this to my kids at school because I was like, yeah, this is how dangerous it was. Escalator going down into a group that was not moving. So like literally as we're getting off the escalator, we're having to like tiptoe because we're like running right into the people next to us. So people could have gotten crushed very easily. That's how crowded it was, and that's how awful they are at selling those tickets.
Awesome.
Nice. But other than almost dying, how was it?
Oh, I mean, it was great. I mean, the people were awesome. It was so cool getting to meet everybody. Shout out to Rippaverse team for having the giant booth. And it was a massive crowd for them. And I really hope that the people at MegaCon start to kind of wake up to the fact that this is not just some small little thing, that we can drive hundreds of people out to these events and to start treating us accordingly, because that would make it even better. Because everyone's been having a ton of fun, but Lord knows that it could be so much better if we got what we deserve, dang it.
Odin, they don't want all those scummy YouTube grifter people hanging around
True.
the conventions all the time.
Yeah,
So-
I will say this. I don't know how long it's been on there, but they have this little like check mark survey thing that you take when you're signing up. It's like, why are you coming to this event? And there is now a category now for YouTube/TikTok influencers.
Nice.
So
Nice.
maybe it's going
Would
to
have
change.
been funny
Who knows?
if it said grifter instead of influencer.
Yes, yes.
I heard
When we
Culture
have-
Casino was your sidekick during that time.
Oh
How
man,
was that?
it was sad because I didn't get to spend as much time with Culture as I wanted to. Because the event was so crowded, but also I was there helping film the panel discussion. And so as soon as I saw him, I couldn't really do much because I was trying to make sure no one knocked the damn camera down. And then he got lost in the crowd after that because it was, again, everybody was there that day at MegaCon. And then for the event, it was so hard to find people because it was so loud. But I mean, again, I think it was one of those things where it's like I have to at one point just be like, dude, let's just meet up somewhere and just have a coffee or something. Culture. Much love to Culture Casino.
Right on.
Nice.
Speaking of much love, Tom Connors Jr. from Midnight's Edge is here. How you doing, Tom?
I'm okay.
How was your cereal this morning? Crunchy? Yeah. Cereal usually is, unless it's been in the milk too long.
Hey, you better enjoy it, man, because it's going to go away very soon after some of the confirmations this week.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Say goodbye
Oh,
to your
no, they're just
goddamn
gonna,
Fruity
like,
Pebbles.
We're gonna put good sugar in it instead of fake sugar.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll send it from over here for you, Tom. Don't worry. I'll send British cereal out. They'll do it. Don't worry.
Speaking of which, first time on the Salty Saturday show, Jon Youlden is here, coming to us
Hi,
from
guys.
Peaky Blinders Central. How you doing, John?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. And Starmer hasn't caught me yet, so I'm doing fine. Thanks very much. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Good stuff. Tell people about your YouTube channel, which is linked in both the description and the pinned comment in the chat.
Yeah, so I've started a channel called Sci-Fi Chronicles, and it's basically doing movie and science fiction reviews, which has been great fun so far. And got a fantastic one coming up in the next few days, which is a favorite of mine, which is Hot Shots. So,
nice.
Check it out. Yep. Great.
Nice.
Yeah, back when you could drop 2 F-bombs in a PG-13 movie.
You could.
Actually, you could drop almost as many as you want as long as it was in a non-sexual connotation. That's basically all that mattered. You could
We
say
need that
"fuck
back."
you," but you could say I want." You couldn't say "I want to fuck you." That's
Wow. Wow.
Out of order. F.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of fuck yous,
Wow.
no, I'm just kidding. We got our leaderboard here. Made You Say Butts, aka William Forbes, the Dutch Butters superfan, is still our top super chat with $300, followed closely by our top contributor, Scotty Dub, for a $200 super chat. And Mexican Iron Man is back on the leaderboard as our most consistent donator, followed by our top gifters, Jillian H., the artist formerly known as Jillian N., Major Chai Chai, and Eric Winberg are all up there as well. And we've got a couple super chats that we're going to get to in just 1 second. But first, I want to say that our goal for today is 15 new members, as dictated by Dutch Butters himself. He's like, we got to hit 15. So that's the goal. Also, guys, we are getting so close to 20,000 subscribers. We just need 300 more. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, subscribe, share it around, ask your friends, tell them about our live stream, tell them about our channel, see if they like us enough to sign up. We would love to hit that 20,000 before the end of February, if possible. And since Brian isn't here, we are going to be redirecting everyone to Mephisto's Movie Reviews, the Real McCoy podcast. Right after this episode is over, you will automatically be redirected over there. And Mephisto's a good friend of the show, and he does a great podcast. So good stuff all around. So stick around for that. Now, guys, let's talk about gifted memberships. We got Major Chai Chai, one of our top gifters, dropped 5 Salty Nerd podcast memberships, followed by the queen of gifted memberships herself, Jillian N. Or I should say Jillian H. Sorry for dead naming you, Jillian. She also gifted 5 Salty Nerd podcast memberships, bringing us up to 10. And then we've got Eric Winberg for his obligatory 1 Salty Nerd podcast membership. And R2D Bot gifted 1 Salty Nerd podcast membership. Brings us up to 12. So we just need 3 more to hit Dutch's goal. Very nice. Good stuff. And we, of course, have Fluffy Panda for $2. Tom is rich. Cereal is $7 to $8. Hashtag, hey, you guys.
What's up, Fluffy
I'm
Panda?
rich.
He's very rich. He's rich in spirit and DVDs. He pays for everything in DVDs, I think.
That's right.
And, of course, not to be left out, we've got our top contributor, Scotty Dub, for $19.99, aka $20 on the Apple Store. I will properly respond to Forbes in time. Just want to say aloha from New Mexico, where I'm visiting the grandchildren and still sending all my best to the great salty nerds. Viva Emilia Perez. Yes. From penis to vagina. Scotty Dub.
Gosh. I still can't believe that movie has that many nominations and that even a couple of their songs have gotten nominated is insane.
Well, you know what I can't believe, Odin, is that Tim Pool has gone to Rumble. Actually, I can believe that because he's been talking about it for a while. But they just did the official announcement this past, what was it, Monday? I believe, where Tim Pool has joined Rumble Premium. And for a long time, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but Tim Pool was kind of like very anti-Rumble. He was all about 100% YouTube. He's like, there's no viewers elsewhere. You know, I make the money on YouTube. I'm going to stay on YouTube. Well, I guess Rumble really backed that dump truck of money up to Tim's chicken coop, because he has basically, you know, jumped over to simul streaming on his Timcast IRL onto Rumble. So he now streams on both YouTube and Rumble for Timcast IRL, but he's moved his members content to Rumble Premium. And if you are a member of timpool.com, you also get Rumble Premium for free, I guess. That's the way they're working it. But a lot of his like Tim Pool, like news reads and stuff like that, are going over to Rumble exclusively. So it's kind of like a hybrid exclusivity notice. But it's obvious that, you know, Tim Pool, he's pulled kind of a Kanye recently. He's gone kind of crazy, fired a bunch of people, and is starting to step back from his business because he wants to get married and have a kid and all that stuff. But it is kind of interesting because Rumble, even though Rumble is making progress and competing with YouTube, they still have the same problem that they've always had, which is discoverability and playing favorites. Like, and also the way that they report views over there is really, really skewed. But they have kind of like the conservative elite, the right tube is all over there on Rumble. You got Steven Crowder, who every time he gets kicked off of YouTube, he goes over to Rumble, and then he like simul streams to YouTube and stuff like that. So I think Rumble is necessary as like a answer to YouTube censorship. But at the same time, it's very, very hard for someone like us or John or whoever to go over to Rumble and actually get people to actually watch our stuff and make money over there and things of that nature. They don't have a really good TV app. They don't have a really good cell phone app. It's all kind of web-based. So there's a lot of stuff that still needs to happen over at Rumble in order to make it a viable competitor to YouTube. But they keep pulling in these big influencers. So I want to start with you, Odin. What do you think about this not surprising jump from YouTube to Rumble? Because he's not really committing to Rumble. He's just saying like, okay, I'll do that on the side pretty much.
Yeah, it's kind of like he has taken a process by this, because you're right. I remember watching his videos back in the day when he was never anti-Rumble, but always very much a YouTube is where my bread and butter are, and so I'm never going to leave. But over time, especially over the last few years, he has definitely been a lot more open to, or at least more welcoming to Rumble, appreciating it for being that alternative voice. Also, once they started offering their like cloud services and their ability to embed on web pages, like that's actually when he's actually been he's been in bed with Rumble for a while now, because he had at least enough of a relationship with them to where all of his exclusive membership content was all funneled through the Rumble servers. Like it was all Rumble hosting, and they would just embed the video players on their website. And so they've already been connected with them for a while now at this point. But yeah, I'm just, when it comes to Rumble, I appreciate it for what it is. The fact that it's a free, it's a free speech alternative. It offers a lot of things that are convenient. The ability to play things without having the screen on, for instance. The ads are also very annoying as well, and luckily it looks like some of the ad blocker stuff still works with that. I know that YouTube's been kind of cutting down on that, making it more difficult for people to watch stuff if you have an ad blocker on, so there is still a way of getting around it overall. But I just don't see, at least at this point, Rumble as being a viable competitor, because their discovery is terrible. It's never been good, and they've never focused on it. And it feels honestly like they've spent so much more time trying to give hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars to these exclusive contracts for people, typically in the political space, though they have obviously tried to gone after gaming spaces and other things like it. But yeah, they clearly play favorites. And for an independent creator, it's almost impossible to do anything over there. I don't know of anybody who is a homegrown Rumble creator who started on Rumble, built themselves on Rumble, and had nothing else going for them except for Rumble, and has actually made it. Anyone who's popular over there had already built an audience on YouTube, on other social media profiles, but not on Rumble itself. And again, maybe they're out there. Maybe people in the chat might know who they are. But if you do, I guarantee you it's going to be maybe count on one hand the people that actually have done that. And until they're able to kind of fix that, until they're able to actually make things a bit more of an even playing field, and especially until they're able to actually make discovery work and the whole like, oh, give them time, they have done so many other things that really don't deserve as much or shouldn't have as much priority, clearly showing they've had the money and the resources to do something like this. They just haven't done it. So to me, it seems almost like they're dragging their feet with it. I'm not a tech expert, so I can't say how easy or how hard it's going to be. But until that happens, it's just like, oh, great, another person being bought basically by Rumble to push their stuff. And again, I'm not saying their stuff is bad, and I'm not saying that it's not a value proposition to some people. But for me, it's like, okay, I still upload over there, and I only have like 1 or 2 people who watch consistently over there and actually comment. And it's like, okay, I mean, I'm going to give people the option, so that way, in case YouTube ever does shut my stream down for any reason, hey, it's still over there. And I'm glad to have it for that reason, and I will support them for that ability alone. But being viable, it's a far cry from that at this point.
Well, what's interesting, Odin, is that a while ago, Gary Neurotic, he was talking about how he was just all in on YouTube. He was kind of the same Tim Pool mentality, but now he simul streams Friday Night Tights to Rumble as well. Do you know anything about his decision to do that?
I mean, we do have an audience over there, so that's a big part of it, is that there are a lot of people that are very anti-YouTube. We kind of appeal to that demographic, right? We appeal to that space, so it makes a lot of sense. But that's a perfect example of he's already been established. So all the people watching him on Rumble are people that would have already have been watching him on YouTube, but have switched over to Rumble either for him or for other content creators. So again, it's more of a proposition in that way where it makes sense from a logistical standpoint. But yeah, I mean, obviously we have ads that we had an ad last night where clearly we're also supported by Rumble in that capacity too. And a lot of the ads that we have are run through them. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense for us to have it there for now. Whether it's a long-term prospect, I don't know. But that's basically what it is at this point.
So, John, I want to ask you, Rumble famously kind of resisted the overarching oppressive UK censorship laws, where they basically said, like, screw you, we're not going to be censoring people on our platform. And they kind of stood up to them, got punched down a little by the EU government. What's your take on Rumble, and do you think that this is a good move for Tim Pool?
Firstly, it's a good move for Tim Pool because he's gonna have a lot of money in his bank account. So that's a win-win for him. I think with the UK, I've not used Rumble myself, but I have spoken to quite a few YouTubers I know in the UK who have got Rumble, and they did set it up purely for what you were just suggesting, which was they were concerned about being throttled back and restricted on this platform and other places. So they essentially went to Rumble as a backup option, and they've still got it there. So they will broadcast through both YouTube and Rumble when they're doing their shows now. So I think that's going to stay around in the UK for a bit longer. But from what I have been told as well, and kind of following on from what Odin was saying, the infrastructure is just not there if you're starting out, or you're not a big broadcaster on YouTube or on Rumble. It's just, I think people locating you is very, very difficult. It's very, very clunky. So people do use it as more of a backup, a secondary option here in the UK. So I think that's going to be around for quite some time. But similar to what Odin was saying as well, I think I agree that, really, instead of buying out these big people, they should actually sort of look at trying to build the infrastructure, because long term, that's probably going to be more viable and successful for them than just buying another name to advertise Rumble with,
That's very true. Alex, one of the issues when it comes to Rumble and a lot of streaming services, because we had like the rise of Kick in response to Twitch and stuff like that, is basically you have a bunch of disaffected creators who are going over to Rumble because they can't stream or make content on YouTube anymore because they keep getting censored. Perfect example of this is Steven Crowder, who basically he brought his YouTube audience with him over there because he had the foresight to build like an email list so that people knew where to find him. But in terms of like actual like audience building, this strategy of basically purchasing big YouTubers by bringing them over to the platform and hoping that their audience follows them. Doesn't seem to be the best in terms of like long-term growth of the platform, because people, once their favorite creators stuff is done, they just hop back on over to YouTube. So what do you think Rumble has to do to actually become a relevant and potential legitimate alternative to YouTube?
I'm pretty much in agreement with whatever Odin said. I think he's got his finger on the pulse as far as that goes. But yeah, totally, like paying off these large content creators to come over there is like an artificial growth strategy. Like, yeah, it's good in the short term, but they're not allowing people to naturally grow the way YouTube did. There's no incentive for people to start a brand new channel and build an audience on Rumble that I know of. I don't use Rumble at all. Even if Tim Pool goes, which I watch Tim Pool's stuff probably every day on my way to work. I'll pop on one of his 10-15 minute news segments or whatever. He's, as far as news goes, I think Tim Pool's probably the number one guy that I go to for daily news stuff. But I won't go to Rumble. I have no reason to. Even if he's like, go check out my members' content over there. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Rumble, I'm worried about Rumble, honestly, because I like the fact that it was an alternative in the time and the era where this massive amount of government funded, from the USAID, government funded censorship was going on throughout all of the political channels and news organizations. It was all being harassed and funded by the left-leaning government. Now that that's gone, I'm wondering whether or not Rumble has made enough of a claim. Like, as if we see Zuckerberg changing his tune, he's taking some TRT, he's doing jiu-jitsu, he's become a bro, and he's like, yeah, we're going to back off on censorship. And Jeff Bezos is telling the New York, is it the Washington Post that he owns? Is that who Bezos owns?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's telling that his news organization to stop being so biased and start just reporting news. So there's a cultural shift where the reason why Rumble existed is already starting to disappear, because now Trump and Vance and this wave of anti-censorship, First Amendment rights is coming up in the world. We've got this massive election that just happened. People are rejecting this censorship. They're rejecting this left-leaning ideology. And now Rumble's like, hey guys, we're still here. it's kind of sad. I feel bad because I know they worked hard, and I feel like a couple of years ago there was absolutely a reason to have someplace like Rumble. Now I'm worried that if YouTube is like, you know what, guys, we're not gonna do the censorship thing anymore. We're going to be easier to deal with, then people are just going to flock right back to it. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And I do know. One last thing. I do know, because I was watching a press conference from the White House, and the CEO of Rumble was there. He was specially invited to sit in. So, I mean, I'm not saying the platform's completely dead, but I do wonder over the next 4 years how the shift in culture is going to affect a platform that predicates its existence on being an alternative to a censorship platform.
Well, I think Rumble's going to need to start, like we all said, they're going to need to start making their own celebrities over there instead of getting people who have been kicked off of other big platforms to go over there as an alternative. It's like Dr. Disrespect, that kind of thing. He's like, the only reason he went over there is because he didn't have any other choice. Yeah. Same thing with Crowder and all these other guys. They all get canceled in some way or another, and they go, oh well, I guess I can go to Rumble, and they go there because they literally have nowhere else to go. And it's kind of crazy to me. I'm looking at Rumble right now on my other screen here, and these numbers are sad. They're gaming. This is their top categories going on right now, and they're gaming, which is like 10 down from the top, has 477 viewers in the entire category right now. That's nothing. That's one mediocre channel on Twitch. One, So go ahead.
And what I've been trying to say is, like, it's even worse, because not only are they giving these massive contracts to these big creators to try to bring people over, but then they're also slapping their content creators in the face. Because I got an email about a few weeks ago where it was like, exciting new creator program just launched. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, a way for us to, try to get some monetization going and to try to make these things viable. And one of the first things that it said was, you have to sign up for Rumble Premium to get this. So I'm like, wait a minute, we have to pay to be brought into the creator program.
Right.
And listen to these criteria. You have to have at least 100 total followers. Okay, that's fine. You must have streamed for at least 30 hours via Rumble Studio. So you have to use their bad studio, which is very poorly done, is not worth using at all. But you have to use that piece of garbage for 30 hours, and then you also have to pay them the Rumble Premium just to be considered for their program, for the enrollment program for the Creator Profit. And you might be able to get some of the premium money, basically. Like, they're trying to have this be a way where other people can start to get some cuts of the money that's going into it. It's just like, man, this is just that's not the way that you do it. I guess one could say that's kind of what X does, right? In order to get access to the X monetization, is you have to have a certain level and you have to like be this or that. But ultimately, it is not nearly the same level or same degree as what they're asking for over on Rumble. And it's like, to me, it's a slap in the face, because it's like, I'm sorry, like, how do you not have a creator program for people that are streaming to your site and not having to use your studio for one, and then also having to actually be an active premium member already to get any potential revenue back on the premium side specifically.
And let's also not forget that there's things like Twitter's they're going to be a big video platform here very soon as well. So
I just saw a comment roll by in the chat that said, what if Elon Musk buys Rumble and absorbs it into X? Because he knows, he's been looking for a video platform where he wants to include it with X. He also wants to do X payments. He wants to have this big place where everybody goes for everything. If he partners up with Rumble and say buys Rumble and then absorbs it into X, I mean, that might be the next evolution of that platform.
Well, the thing is that X already owns like Vine and Periscope, and they already have video capabilities. I know that they're going to be rolling out a video-only feed to compete with like the TikTok type apps and stuff like that. But I think the biggest issue with Rumble is that it's an ideological platform that's trying to compete in tech, whereas YouTube is a tech platform that just unfortunately has ideology embedded in it. But first and foremost, YouTube's recommendation algorithm is big. Its revenue share is very attractive. It allows people to become full-time content creators. But Dutch, there was a time there where you and I were debating over whether or not to simul-stream Salty Saturdays across Twitch and Kick and Rumble and all that stuff. And ultimately, we decided, it's better to just focus on like one platform, because like we're not a Friday Night Tights. Or anything like that, and it's very hard to keep track of like all the other audience people on like all these other platforms. But do you see, like, is there a future in for small creators heading on over to Rumble anytime soon?
I don't see it as that. I don't see that as being a really good place for people to start, because you guys all said there's no discoverability over there. If you want to make videos and you send a link out to a few people on your Twitch stream, that, or your Twitter feed that 1% of the people that follow you on Twitter will go look at, then yeah, that's fine. But you got to be doing it just as a hobby at that point. There's no real reason to start doing this over on Rumble. I really don't think, unless you just have a absolute unless you just absolutely reject big tech and stuff like Google and everything. There's really no reason to do it. There's, like you said, there's no discoverability. So I would start with YouTube and Twitter and see where it goes from there. With the reason we did that, we decided not to do that is I mean, you convinced me, and it makes sense. We didn't want to split our audience up between 4 different platforms. You want them all to be in one spot. Then we can break it up, put shorts out, or do whatever, and try to grow those other channels. But no, I think if you want to start this thing, right here on YouTube is probably the best place to go to cut your teeth in, I guess. I don't know. So,
and also to Alex's point, during the Biden COVID censorship era, where basically you could have your channel completely demonetized, have videos taken down here on YouTube by speaking against the approved narrative for whether it be elections or COVID or like whatever the case. Just by saying, a flagged word, you get demonetized and all that other stuff. I feel like with Trump in office this time, especially the way he's been approaching, all of his executive orders and stuff like that, that we're going to be seeing a rollback on that kind of heavy-handed censorship, especially since the deep state censorship mechanism is currently being defunded and called out by Elon and Trump and all this other stuff. So like they're not going to have as much influence on like a Google or whatever. And Google's already come to the table along with Apple and all these other big tech companies and basically bent the knee to Trump. And so the value proposition of sites like Rumble, where it's like, okay, we're free speech forward, we're censorship free, all this other stuff, is going to be basically nuked from orbit, because now like there's no real reason to seek out these platforms, because you're not getting slapped down on, places like YouTube or Facebook or like whatever. So it's going to be an uphill battle for them. But you guys know what isn't an uphill battle? All of our wonderful super chats who fund this lovely show that we do once a week. We got Babylon 5 is better than Stargate SG-1 for $1.99. Should have called it The Falcon. Changed my mind. No, I mean, it probably would be doing better at the box office, and we're going to talk about that in the next section. But yeah, it should have been called Captain Falcon or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's
Anyway,
name
guys.
is just wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah. I was convulsing when I saw that come up, to be honest.
Well, the later seasons of Babylon 5 get pretty good, but I tend to agree with you guys. Marker Reality for $2. Odin was taller in person than on camera. Just saying.
That's what everyone says.
His beard's longer on camera than it is in person, though.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you, Odin. I'm letting it grow out.
Yeah, he's gonna
Let's
get.
see.
Oh man, I look homeless. I'm gonna shave it off again.
And Mr. Butters, your super fan, has just entered the chat.
Yeah,
Made you say
good for him.
butts for $5. Bring it, Scotty Dubs. I can go a few more rounds. Butters, so good to see you, buddy. Just got here. Rewatch intro later. Looking forward to the pod.
Right on.
Yes, good seeing you. Made you say butts, and Mr. Forbes, however you like to be called. But guys, speaking of Captain Falcon, let's talk a little bit about the fallout behind Captain Falcon, which was released on Valentine's Day just yesterday. It seems to be doing okay. Its cinema score is the lowest of any Marvel movie ever, but I don't put too much stock in cinema scores because it's just about how good the marketing for the movie was as opposed to the movie itself. But Vulture, which has been doing some really great entertainment-based investigative journalism lately, we've been featuring them on other episodes when it came to male feminist Neil Gaiman and all this other stuff. But they have a very interesting story. By the way, the link to all this stuff is in the description if you guys want to do your own research. But they have an insider who was involved in not only the production of Captain America Brave New World, but also the reshoots, where basically this guy just came out and said, I think everyone knew this was probably not going to be a good film. So basically everyone who worked on this movie just kind of knew that it was going to be bad. But the really interesting part is towards the end of this article here, where they actually like kind of print the email that this guy sent them, and he really calls out Harrison Ford as being a big factor in why like the reshoots cost so much and stuff like that. So first of all, the reshoots happened right as the actors and writers strike happened, and so like that delayed them a lot in terms of like their reshoots. But basically there's a part here where it talks about Harrison Ford. He said, Harrison Ford was one of the crankiest performers I ever dealt with, which is sad because I'm a fan, but he was very much a diva. I don't know if you remember, but he got in a plane crash. He couldn't even raise his left arm above his chest. We have to suit up 80-something Harrison Ford in the motion capture dots. To me, it seemed like he hated it and didn't want to do it. And when Harrison was done, he was done. Everyone was trying to scramble to make him happy. That made for a very awkward work environment. Alex, you are a hardcore Harrison Ford fan. I want to hear your take on this.
Time out. Stop. They put this old fucker into a goddamn motion capture suit when he's not even going to be on camera. It was just literally to catch his movements.
I can't move.
Put somebody else in that fucking thing. What are you doing?
Well, when you're paying $20 million to Harrison Ford, you want to get your money out of him.
Or don't have motion capture. The technology exists now to where you don't need that. It doesn't look that much better.
Yeah, it's called a stunt double. It's called a stunt double.
Yeah. Like, are you telling me that he did the motion capture for the Red Hulk? Is that what
Yes.
Is that what that means?
Yes.
Why would you have him do that?
But just don't you have it for Dial of Destiny as well? Because surely they would have done some element at some point for that as well. But
There's
I think
that.
they plotted his face so they could do the de-aging. But
yeah.
I think the body movements were done by a double. I think.
Remember that scene in Dial of Destiny where he's running on top of the train and you can
And he
tell
looks
it's like
like
80-year-old Harrison Ford. And he can't bend his legs or move his head. He's all,
bro.
Oh my God.
I don't. Whoever this production person is, I don't want to hear them complain about how cranky Harrison Ford was because they forced him to be in a fucking skin tight, dotted suit for the movie for a scene that he's not even going to be in. Jesus. That is your own fault.
So what do you make of Harrison Ford being the diva that basically elongated these reshoots and cost a lot of money?
I don't know. What'd you expect? Yeah. He's the crankiest freaking 80-year-old actor who's still working right now. If you go into a movie with Harrison Ford and you're gonna put him in a skin tight dot suit and you expect him to be happy about it, you're on a different planet. You're on a different planet, my friend. I don't know what they were expecting, but like it sounds about right to me. Dutch would be cranky if I made him do that shit for the gaming channel.
I mean, he's already cranky.
I need you to put this freaking spandex suit on for me.
Never happened. It's never gonna happen. So
I'll give you $20 million, Dutch. Get in this suit.
That's what the money's for.
That's right.
All right. Well, I want to throw this to John. So, John, I'm going to read you another part of this guy's report where he says, when the studio had its test in front of an audience, the audience didn't respond. Maybe they don't want to see anything political in an election year. Maybe they were divided on who they were voting for. General Ross reads as an allusion to Trump. He's this very powerful general who becomes kind of a fascist and turns into a raging red Hulk. This is my opinion, but I think Disney was realizing, hey, we've been bleeding for a while. Let's try not to piss off our core base any more than we have been for over the last couple of years. They know they're going to lose a lot of your audience that way. What do you make of
that? Firstly, I'd say, sorry, what do they mean core audience? Have they actually still got a core audience? I thought that had gone ages ago. I also think with regards to this, the response to it, I mean, word of mouth has been out for so long, wasn't it? That it was just everything about it just stank. So why was anybody going to get excited about it? And you know that they were definitely going to go down the, you know, this is Trump as president route, weren't they? I mean, that's blatant, and they've just chopped it out. It's just, I'm at a point now with Marvel where you'd actually think, and you guys could probably come in more on this than I can, but they pushed on with doing reshoot and reshoot and reshoot on this, but it was a dog with fleas from the start. So, you know, you're never going to get a good return out of this movie, no matter how much you cut it up and reshoot. It's never going to happen. And to be honest with you, if I was Harrison Ford, I'd probably be cranky because I'm on that set anyway. I don't want to be anywhere near that set, no matter how much money they're paying me. So, yeah, nobody's was interested in this film. Nobody is remotely interested in it now. And I mean, it speaks volumes to how Marvel is lost in front of the general public now. People just aren't interested in it.
Well, you know, Dutch, what's interesting about this is that the timing of it is so weird because this was greenlit, I believe, in 2021, right? And that was at the start of the Biden administration. Trump had been vanquished. The new DEI was the culture. And basically, so like Marvel decided, hey, let's put a black guy in the Captain America role. Let's add in like a Jewish superhero character. Let's have the president be the bad guy. Let's have basically they made it a political movie. They made it into like a DEI headline.
All these things.
So yeah, all these things. And then because it took them so long to get this movie done, it now comes out when the entire political and cultural landscape has completely changed.
Bro, listen.
And now they're just kind of spinning their wheels. What's your take on this?
All I wanted was a movie with the Falcon going on a bender because he couldn't get a bank loan. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I honestly don't even know what this movie's about. I don't care about what this movie's about. I'm not going to watch this movie. I have no interest in this movie. And they've lost me. I mean, I used to love the MCU, man. I thought the MCU was great. And they've just gone off the rails. And I don't know if there's anything they can do to pique my interest enough to the point where I have any reason to go back. I have too many other things that I'm interested in now, and watching shitty but expensive superhero movies is not on my list anymore. You know, it's just not. I don't know what to say. I'm not going to go watch this movie. I don't want to, and I would rather go watch more Mad Max movies without Mad Max in them. I think that's kind of what I want to do. You know, that kind of thing. But no, this they've lost me, and I don't even remember what the question was you asked me was, but it's just I'm out of the MCU, man, and it's just like all the other fun things that we used to really enjoy.
Yeah,
I'm done. So
well, the question was really about the bad timing of this, because like Marvel put all their cards along with Disney into like these DEI type of entertainment, and now when they're coming out, the culture has completely left them behind, and people are rejecting these things. In fact, the original storyline for Captain America: Brave New World was going to be about the Eternals cliffhanger, where you had that big celestial coming out of the top of the planet. And the different countries were going to be warring over, like, you know, who gets to control that.
Is that still
celestial. Yeah, in this movie it is, but like all the other Marvel movies have just ignored it. But then once they got the bad test screening, it became more about who controls vibranium, I think. I don't know. I haven't watched the movie.
Wouldn't that thing being in the middle of the ocean like raise the ocean levels up a little bit?
Well, it came from the core of the planet, so it would have displaced like how God knows.
Oh yeah, because all that water the water levels would have gone down. Actually,
volcanoes would have been set off worldwide, most likely. Tsunamis
the Earth would have probably split into
fly zone. Yeah,
that sounds like an awesome movie where the Avengers have to team up to like save people from these catastrophes.
That would have been a good comic book movie.
That's a good comic book movie, and that's universally like everybody can watch it because it's apolitical. It's just like it doesn't exist in our world. This is a problem specifically for this made up bullshit planet that they made their movie out of. I would watch that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But they would turn into climate change. They'd be like, oh, they have to fight climate change.
No, what they do is they have a bunch of people who are like, this is because of climate change, but really it's like all the people who know are like, we can't tell them it's a giant alien in the middle of the planet, right? Like we can't say that. That'll cause panic. Let's let them believe it's climate change while we go fix the problem.
You know, one of the funnest things I've done in the last 6 months is not have to go watch a stupid fucking bunch of movies because we haven't been reviewing them here on this channel, and I've been enjoying the hell out of it. I'm almost ready to where we can start watching a few movies again, but like I don't want to watch any more. Well, we never really watch any MCU movies for the salty nerds.
To explain Dutch's joke about Falcon not getting a bank loan, if you've watched Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney Plus, that was a major plot point where basically this Avenger, who's an Avenger of color, who saved the world, helped save the world, couldn't get a bank loan to help out his family's business. And instead of just being to the bank people, it's like, hey, I'm going to go public and warn people that your bank is denying a Avenger of color who helped save the world.
Racist.
Yeah. Instead of like doing that and just getting, and keep in mind, he's also subsubsidized by Stark Industries.
Why didn't he just borrow the money from Happy?
It's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Falcon, but your credit score is only a 619. So
you have a black person's credit score. I'm sorry.
Well, he'd be getting funding from USAID now, wouldn't he? Quite easily.
Exactly. But the whole thing was about because he was black and poor, he couldn't get a bank loan. So like, like just totally out of the realm of reality. But getting back to reality, Odin, I want to talk to you about the financials of this. So like, it was reported that this movie's budget was $180 million, and that they were expecting like 90 something million in previews over the course of like the Valentine's Day weekend and stuff like that. So they're giving very rosy projections about how well this movie is going to do. What's your take on it?
Dude, I thought I had seen some peak shilling from Tony over at Deadline, but this new level just takes the cake. I mean, every article he's written about this movie's box office performance has been so glowing, and it honestly just it makes me sick because of how disingenuous it is. So my favorite narrative being pushed is, oh man, this movie is tracking so that it might actually be able to do better than Captain America Winter Soldier from back in 2014. And immediately my mind went to, oh, you mean that movie that you're not going to adjust for inflation for? Oh, you mean that movie where ticket prices cost a lot less then than it does now?
Stop it.
Oh.
This is the second highest opening for a Captain America movie on a Thursday that's not in November
Comparing
or July.
4 days to 3 days. That's the other thing,
or
too.
when it was 80 degrees in Antarctica.
There was a storm in Los Angeles, and that still didn't stop people from seeing this movie. Like that's the stuff Tony's mentioning. Like, actually mentioned a rainstorm in Los Angeles and a snowstorm in Northern California. And it's like, dude, you're trying to make every excuse in the book and then say, oh, but it actually didn't affect it because
how were the box office receipts in Santa Monica?
Oh yeah, let's not talk about the nonsense.
And they're
that
completely ignoring the worldwide, which this thing is a bomb worldwide. It didn't even make $1 million.
Oh no, but they're not ignoring it, Tom. They're saying it's amazing because they're saying this could do Quantum Mania levels globally.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh, you want to go you want to talk about Quantum Mania? Because we can go down that road, Tony, if you really want to bring up Quantum Mania. Yeah, this film is actually set to make less money domestically than Quantum Mania did. Same time back in 2023. And we all know how well that film turned out financially. The biggest issue, too, for me, not only are the lies, again, this has a 4-day number, and they're running with the 4-day number in their headlines and not the 3-day. When the 2014 number they're trying to compare it to is a 3-day total, not a 4-day total. So again, they're being very disingenuous by all this. The fact is, if the film makes $84 million in its domestic opening 3 days, that would make it the lowest grossing Captain America movie in the franchise. If it makes $90 million over 3 days, still the lowest. If it makes $92.5 million, still makes it the lowest, because when you adjust for inflation, guess what? The first Avenger, going all the way back to 2011, $93 million when you adjust for inflation. If you don't like inflation and you think that's not a fair metric, let's go ticket sales. 8.2 million ticket sales estimated opening weekend for the domestic for that film. Guess what? This movie, if it gets 84 million, 6 million tickets. So we're talking about 2 million less people going to see this film just domestically. And then if you do compare it to more recent films like Quantum Mania, the fact the film is doing worse in certain aspects than Quantum Mania's box office tells you a lot about this as well. Not to mention, as you just said before, the cinema score, which you all know I think is a complete and utter joke. I hate cinema score so very much with a fiery passion. And even they would say, yeah, well, it's the worst, actually. It's got some of the worst word of mouth according to that. Post-track, which I think is a bit more reliable, is also not very high on this movie either. Yeah, this movie is going to be a massive flop. And the joke of that 180 million and how so many in the media are running with it as the actual budget. And their excuse is, oh, there's all this fake news out there saying it costs a whole lot more, but this is coming from the studio, guys. And so clearly this is reliable. And it's like, man, if this movie had been shot in the UK, you would not be hearing any of this. But because it was shot in Georgia and DC and areas where they don't have to actually have their tax returns publicly available for people to see how much they actually spent in total amount, they're running with this. And we're never going to actually likely never going to find out the actual amount, which is probably closer to $300 million in budget, because we know we're not idiots.
I've never understood why they don't use ticket sales as the metric for this stuff versus box office. It's crazy to me. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish that there was a centralized system that could actually account for it. I mean, we could do a pretty good job of guesstimating, but I think it really comes down to different markets have different prices, and I'm sure there would be a way.
If we went by that, we all know what would be the #1 movie of all time.
Yeah,
Rebel
Gone with the
Moon.
Wind. What was that?
Rebel Moon.
Oh, of course.
Moon.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot about Rebel Moon. Yes.
Never forget.
Gone
how
with the
big that
Wind
movie
right
was.
here.
Billions.
Rebel Moon. Is,
Rebel-
you know,
Billions
way
of
up
ticket
here.
sales. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Way up here.
Tom,
True.
so like, you famously have made that joke that Captain Falcon was only reshot 3 times. First act, the second act, the third act.
Well, no, they
right?
said initially in that first reshoot round, they were only doing 3 major sequences. That was it. And I said, yeah, act 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. So in this Vulture article, their insider basically says that reshoots are a part of making any movie like this with a big budget, but this isn't Marvel's first rodeo.
22
Entire
days.
sequences we shot won't make it into the film, and that's very expensive. I'm not going to say the director was not equipped to handle that production, and the director is like an indie director who's never done a big budget movie before, but he is black, so there's that. Basically, dealing with A-list egos was the issue. It was mainly just Harrison Ford, so that is a little disappointing. At the end of the day, it was the most tense Marvel shoot I've ever worked on. Everyone kind of felt their buttholes tighten a little. It's like, And basically, he says that everyone who worked on this movie knew that it was going to be a piece of shit and not do well. So what's your take on this, Tom?
Well, I mean, who doesn't know that Harrison Ford is a grumpy old curmudgeon? And I mean, if you're on a set where the director is basically a rookie, and we all know how Marvel makes these movies, he's probably like, these fucking kids got no clue what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing here.
That's
I
what
don't
the
know
money's
what the hell-
for.
Let's shoot this piece of shit so I can get back to my trailer and smoke some weed. That's all he wants to do, right? Like, so at the end of the day, like, I can see that, especially if they haven't. Look, I don't buy this only one round of reshoots thing. We all know that it's been confirmed by multiple sources, including people that are in the movie and people that worked on the movie. And when you have people saying that somebody who was there before me and the other people came in later, that equates to multiple rounds, right? Not just one a year ago, bullshit. And we already know that pretty much the industry had turned their backs on this movie when McDonald's is like, no, we're not waiting to release these toys. We have no incentive to, because they had another movie coming out at this time or whatever, or around the time that they were supposed to move it to. And they're like, no, we're not going to do it. To me, that tells me if they're not going to capitulate to Disney, then that means it's kind of the end of the line there. I mean,
this
Did
chat,
you guys-
this chat is unmatched. I love this. These comments are amazing.
Did you guys hear that in China, for all like the posters and stuff like that, they basically took Anthony Mackie completely out? Like it's just like a silhouette. It's almost like a cutout,
That's
because
hilarious.
they don't want black men featured on the advertising.
Doesn't sell in China. Doesn't do
I
well
think
there.
that's a little,
China.
well, what
Disney.
that's for is so you can get in there and take your picture with him. But what I found was odd about it was that it was the entire body and not just the head. Right? Like, because normally it would just be like the head thing you have just so you could come in there and make it look like you're the Hulk trying to punch Captain America or something like that. Oh, no, this is a side profile view of both of them. And you're right, he's completely chopped out. And what's funny is if you look at the face, it's definitely not his face in the cutout.
Can I ask a question to the people that have seen this movie? And this might
Yeah.
be a spoiler, but I really don't care. Okay. I want to know if they explained how Falcon can take a punch from a Red Hulk and not be a super soldier.
Oh, this is easy. Wakanda magic.
Oh,
Dear.
He was
Okay.
given a gift from Wakanda.
So the shield
his
just
wings,
absorbs all the kinetic
his wings
energy?
now have Wakanda specialized
Is
tech.
that another word for black man magic?
Well, it's by proxy, I guess you could say, because
Wow. Okay.
he didn't actually create it. It's not him himself.
Well,
it's,
you guys know what's funny. I don't think this is a spoiler or anything, but in the movie, like we talked about how countries are kind of warring over the celestial that's like sticking out of the earth.
Mhm.
So the major rival to America for claiming that celestial is Japan, and instead of China, because they don't want to piss off the Chinese, so that they can have a release over there, they made the Asian bad guys Japanese
Yep.
in the movie.
We're fighting
Oh.
literally Japan once again, and even though, as I just said, they use the whole wing thing. It's the whole magic. It's the Wakanda magical materials thing. What's even funnier is that he's landing at speeds that would break a normal man's legs, and his suit doesn't go down that far. It's just like a regular suit at that point.
Lands on his ankles
Well,
that should be shattered
yeah.
upon impact. Yeah.
You know what?
I mean,
The next Captain America movie needs. Sorry, Kadish. The next Captain America movie needs to be freaking the president calls the cartels a terrorist organization, and Captain America and the crew have to go down to South America, freaking destroy all the Colombian
South
white
America?
gold.
Sicario, man. Bring in
Yeah.
Denis Villeneuve to
They
direct
just gotta
that
go to-
one,
they
man.
just gotta go to El Paso.
Yeah, yeah. Should be fighting Walter White and shit.
Well,
And
the
as
funny thing is,
punishment, they've got to mine the big guy that's sticking out of the planet in the next sequel to the movie.
Yeah.
and what's funny is that in Captain America and Winter Soldier, the TV show, they had the perfect setup for Anthony Mackie to take the super soldier serum. Like he could have taken it in that show and become a super soldier, right? But they chose not to do that. And so now everyone's like, what makes him special?
Do you want to know why?
He's basically Iron Man.
Do you want to know why? It's because they wrote a line for this specific moment, for this time, for 2025, okay? Because why did he take the serum? Well, because Captain America, Steve Rogers, he was someone that you could look up to. But you, Falcon, you are someone that they can aspire to. Yep. Captain America, Steve Rogers, because he was a super serum guy, you can look up to him. But because, hey, he's just a normal guy, Falcon, you can aspire to be him. So that was what they wanted. They wanted that line in there. If you can aspire to him versus looking up towards the super soldier.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yep. Brilliant writing.
Right.
That one stuck with me.
There's your segue.
Right.
There's your segue.
Well, yeah, let's talk about some super chats. So we got Culture Casino for $2. These Remy peeps. Everyone check out John's place.
I don't understand
Thanks, my
that.
friend.
What does that mean? Remy peeps? Am I
Remy
clueless?
peeps, maybe. But go check out John's channel. It's
Kids
linked in the
doesn't
chat. I don't know. Either.
Culture, speak English, man. Come on.
Culture.
Remy peeps.
I don't know. Hanging
It's
out
not
with
Easter
Ruin
yet,
them.
Culture. Is that peeps? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Peeps.
Pink peeps.
All right, guys. So Dutch Butter's super fan made you say butts for $10. Hating on Harrison Ford because he's justified being cranky wearing mocap. He was the best part of the film. It was a film. Meh sums it up. Nothing burger hodgepodge BS. 4 different films mushed together.
Well, speaking of
And,
Harrison Ford,
there you
though,
go.
isn't it funny that they didn't even wait till William Hurt's body was even cold before they recast
Yeah.
him, but yet
Yeah.
they can't recast Black Panther.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made you say butts for $2 for Butter's questions because fuck you. That's why.
Wow.
Oh.
Dang.
And what's funny about this being a quasi Hulk sequel is you only have one member of the original cast left, and most people are like, "Why is Liv Tyler even here?" Like,
Oh yeah.
Spoiler!
Is she in the
Spoiler!
movie?
How dare
She's
you?
The Edward Norton movie that
cares?
was done in 2008.
yeah, exactly. Like nobody remembers.
Huh.
Well, what was the CGI like in the film? Is it
Mixed.
deteriorating still? It's mixed. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's mixed. Like there's stuff in there where it's like I'm not going to tear down the animators who probably were given no time to work on the film.
Yeah.
Like if it's like I gave this film on Critic List a bogus score, like not even a heinous score, and it's because of 2 reasons. The primary one is the stunt team. Because there's some actually like fun fighting sequences in there where they're not necessarily well choreographed, but the stunt guys, they're doing exactly what they were told to do, and it's looking good from them at least. So I give some points to them because I think the stunt teams are so misunderstood and so misrepresented in anything, in any discussion. And then I'm going to give a couple of points to the CG effects because, again, not all of them are good. Some of them are actually really bad. But you know what? I'm going to throw them a bone every now and then. The rest of the film is just garbage.
I also think it's funny that they inserted a 90-pound female Jewish superhero into the movie and then decided to remove her because of anti-Israel.
We were talking about
Palestinian
this.
stuff.
We were talking about this last night. That apparently the real life actress, again, correct me if I'm wrong. The real life actress got cancer when she was either 2 or 12. Still jury out on that. When she was young, and that stunted her growth. So she actually is like 5 foot nothing or like incredibly short because of health reasons. And they're like, yeah, let's cast that one. And she's not that great of an act. Like she's not a bad actress in any way, but there's nothing special about her to think, oh yeah, let's move past and look past her height. It's like, I'm sorry. Like you just wanted to cast a short person, a short woman, especially to fill this role. Like that was just like a part of your decision-making process.
I wish I knew what you were talking about right now, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I gotta look at this. I gotta look at a picture.
Do you guys know who else hates women, short people, and Israel?
Whoa.
It's Kanye West. So Kanye West has gone full Yahtzee. Got to say that see, because basically he's lost his mind. He's either a brilliant sensationalist marketer or he's a straight up, bigot. But he did something during the Super Bowl, which has been causing shockwaves, not only in the advertising sphere, but also in Hollywood and his own personal brand, where basically he did well, before I get to this, let me just remind people that in last year's Super Bowl, he did a iPhone video that he paid $8 million to have put on during commercials for the Super Bowl to sell apparel, right? And so that $8 million selfie video that he put on the Super Bowl last year got him something like $60 to $80 million in merchandise sales. So like big return on investment. And he decided to do the same thing this year, but he pulled a bait and switch where basically he made a video of himself that was oddly enough in a dentist chair at the actual dentist. And basically he's told people go to Yeezy.com, which is his apparel website. And then, went through approval. I think he spent a couple $100,000 to have it air in 3 different markets in California, primarily Los Angeles area. So it wasn't a nationwide commercial. It was a smaller commercial, but it still cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars to get it out there. And basically after the commercial aired, he instantly switched his website from selling all of his different apparel to one piece of apparel, which was a regular white t-shirt with a black swastika on the chest. And so basically, and this is coming after like he deleted his X account, but he was going off of very anti-Semitic tirades. He was talking about the mustache man who, was tossing heat or something like that. Like he was very complimentary towards that guy. And it was just, it was absolutely crazy. But the weird thing about Kanye West is that it almost reminds me of like shock jock era stuff, right? With Howard Stern, where he's doing things that are so outrageous that he's getting so much publicity out of these things. And even though it's hurting his personal brand, it seems to be like, still making him money. But I also think that this comes from the fact that he really doesn't like working with people of certain ethnicities in the entertainment industry. And, but if you remember, so like when Donald Trump, when it was unpopular to like Donald Trump, he put on the Make America Great Again hat and met with Trump in the Oval Office. Then he, went on Tim Pool for like 2 seconds and walked off back when he had Milo Yiannopoulos as like his, was it personal manager or something like that. Nick Fuentes was also there with him, who's a well-known controversial figure. And he went on Alex Jones. He has the distinction of making Alex Jones uncomfortable by praising the mustache man and also talking about, Israel and stuff like that on his platform. And this was back when he was wearing the just flat out black mask. And then leading up to this, the Super Bowl kerfluffle, he had his wife basically just prance around naked at the Grammys. That was like a big thing. And then like, he got his Twitter account deleted, or he deleted it himself just by going off on these like really unhinged rants. So I want to know what the hell is going on with Kanye. Is this all stuff that's planned out, or is this just him off of his meds? I want to start with you, Tom. What do you think about Kanye West having this meltdown?
No comment. No, I think if it's not some kind of performance art, dude needs professional help and somebody to rein his ass in. The short-term gains are not gonna outweigh the damage he's done to his brand at this point. And I've never been a Kanye fan ever, so like I could give a shit either way. Like to me, I think it's kind of funny. He's basically become the meme that he was on South Park at this point. I mean, he's running around talking about gay Jews and shit like that. It's just nuts. I don't know what else to say about him.
The dude's the ultimate narcissist, right?
I guess. I mean, is it again? If it's not some sort of crazy performance art like you're getting at, Matt, then I really don't know. I mean, he's out Shia LaBeouf at this point. I mean,
it's true. Alex, I want to ask you: would you ever approve of treating your wife the way that Kanye is treating his?
Oh hell no. No, dude, to me, this whole thing, everything that has to do with Kanye West since probably at least a couple of years ago, maybe even in Trump's first presidency way back in 2016, I think it's all just been a way to stay relevant. And because he's done so much damage to his brand. But I kind of like Dave Chappelle did a bit on this at one of his comedy shows where basically it's weird where you criticize the people and then all of a sudden your bank account gets shut down. And it's like, well, was he wrong then? like there's some truth to a couple of things, with the entertainment industry that I think everybody knows. And I don't think it's a freaking secret and it's not a hush hush thing. It's like, yeah, there's definitely an influence there, and he's rejecting that influence wholesale, and he's going too far on purpose, I suspect, just to get the shock value out there, because people don't pay attention to anything unless it's shocking, and here we are talking about it on a freaking live stream with almost 300 people watching. So I mean, it's working, whether you like it or hate it, it's doing its job. He even mentioned, I think he did some kind of a social media post, or somebody was mentioning it, that it's like, well, you might not like it, but my sales went up. That means everybody that bought that's a racist, right? And it's like, whatever he did, he made money doing it. I don't know what to tell you. You can make of that what you will, but yeah, it's all. I don't pay too much attention to it. It all just seems like a way to get attention to me.
Well, John, what's interesting about this is basically last year when he did the iPhone commercial, essentially, he spent next to no money, making that ad, and then got like 20, 40, 80 times X, like whatever he put into it. And this time around, like, you could say that the publicity that's surrounding this controversy is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And he only paid like a couple $100,000 to have it be played in like 3 different local LA markets. So, and then like he just flat out comes out and says, hey, I'm a Yahtzee. But then, a lot of people don't seem to understand that basically that's just saying I'm a National Socialist. All the evils that are associated with that aside, and most of Hollywood seems to be in support of National Socialism. But you're over there across the pond, so I wanted to know, like, what's the feeling over there about, like, what?
It's
what
illegal
Kanye
for him to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, Kanye would be in jail right now if it was in the UK, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, in fact, I've got an assault officer for Starmer stood right next to me right now, telling me what I can and can't say. No, I mean, again, UK, they would have been pushing for him to be off X. I think, Tom, was it you saying earlier that he's back on X now? Is that right?
I'm a gay fish on X.
Yeah, so
yes.
he took down his X account, and I guess now he's put it back up.
Yeah, like they would have been all over this in the UK, he would have been quietly put away somewhere for a certain amount of time, I'm sure, if it was over here, until he was he'd learned his lesson and didn't make any more quick videos, shall we say? Definitely, but he's not. I mean, over here though, I mean, it's news for you guys over there, but it's not really been too massive over here with what he's been up to, really. I mean, a lot of people just they see him over here as quite insignificant now. He's just kind of the crazy guy that turns up at an event every now and again and does something outrageous. So he's on brand for that, isn't he? But he's not well known. He's not really in the press much in the UK these days.
Well, what's interesting, Odin, is that basically, back before Kanye kind of like went off the deep end, like, he was famous for getting up at the Grammys and saying that George Bush doesn't care about black people because of Hurricane Katrina, and that got him a lot of attention. Then he had like this feud with Taylor Swift for a while that got him a lot of attention, and then he started doing like the whole "Make America Great Again" pro-Trump stuff that got him a lot of attention, and he just seems to be ramping up. But like, he had like his clothing line, which was possibly even $1 billion in terms of like value. And he's been slowly burning these bridges. Like he's been getting dropped by his management agency, his talent agency. People don't want to do business with him because he's so like volatile. And then like you have his marriage disintegrating, and then he gets married to like a new woman, and he's basically just like exploiting her for like cheap views and stuff like that. What do you think his end game is with all this?
Himself. Like I think that, you know, it's kind of been touched upon by several others. Like he is the ultimate narcissist. He cares only about himself and love of himself. There's a good reason as to why he has said things like "I am God," right? Because he, I think, honestly views himself in that way, where he only cares about himself, his own bottom line, and that's why when I see things like this, it's like I don't care whether it's performative or not. Because it's disgusting in, you know, whether it be just purely for the lulls on his part, just to get attention, whatever it might be, whatever the justification for it might ultimately be. I just think it really honestly makes me sad because it just shows that a guy who clearly does have some talents. I mean, there are people that enjoy his music. There are people who have enjoyed his music for a very long time, even long before all this more recent stuff has happened. And so there's clearly something there, but unfortunately, he's just allowed himself to become so self-obsessed to the point where he is willing to do basically almost anything for attention, for the spotlight to be put onto him in some way. And now when he's using other people in that process, it makes it even worse. So I know that there are people out there that will say like, oh, but he's claimed that his, you know, his company or his agent and other people were trying to control him and have him on medications and like all these things like that were being claimed. His behavior shows me that there's something clearly not quite right going on, because in a best case scenario, he is a complete and utter narcissist who I hope people start just to ignore, and that he can just kind of fade away and go to, you know, a dark existence and hopefully find some redemption and hopefully actually find, you know, and seek redemption for the things that he's done. But yeah, it's just really, it makes me sad to see a human being, you know, kind of do this to himself and now to also to other people too.
Yes, the best way to deal with somebody like that is to just ignore it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, but here we are, like Alex said a little bit ago. Here we are in front of 300 people talking about it on Saturday morning, and we're certainly not the only people that have done that. So
Yeah.
good job, Kanye. You're relevant for 5 more minutes. So good job.
Odin, I want to ask you, because you know you are a teacher, you deal with America's youths all the time. Do you think that Kanye's embracing of Yahtzeeism could have like some type of influence on young people in this country?
If they're troubled, I could see it. I mean, that's anybody though. Anybody can be radicalized if their mind is already kind of in that way. Regular minded persons, people that don't have any mental issues going on, no. I mean, I've heard kids mention Ye's name before, and it's always been like in that joking way of, oh, we know that this is a controversial person right now in the news, and so like you're playing a review game, for instance, and you can name yourself somebody, and so like they'll put in sometimes their own names, but sometimes they'll put in like fake names, and so Ye comes up every now and then, and so it's just like, haha, look, I put up Ye's name up there, and he's basically a Nazi, and it's like that's how they view him. So he's luckily not having a huge impact on kind of sensible people, but the sad truth is that there's definitely people out there that might be on spectrum or might have other conditions that could easily be influenced by stuff like this.
We also got to remember Kanye's old enough to where he's like to these kids nowadays what Stevie Wonder was to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, this Super Bowl was famous for being kind of like nothing. Nobody really cared about it. Nobody remembered anything about it. But people are still talking about the Kanye commercial. So what do you think? Do you think this has something more to say about how lame the Super Bowl's gotten as opposed to like how outrageous Kanye is?
Was that still to me?
That was the Dutch.
Okay.
Oh, it was to me. I really wasn't paying attention.
I'm glad I said something because I missed it too.
I was
specifically
at
told
work
you,
during the Super Bowl, and so I didn't really watch any of it. But all I know is that I won $1 because the Eagles won. So yeah, yay me. The biggest takeaway I had from the Super Bowl was that terrible halftime show. That is just. I think I'm just too old for that stuff anymore.
Terrible.
The kids loved it.
It was
Yeah.
right
So-
with messaging.
Yeah.
You know?
So Well, there you go. There's a generation issue going on there because
The way
I had to watch like 4 separate videos that analyzed that show to understand what the hell he was talking about. Now I know, but because I had to watch other people's content who actually knew what he was saying.
Yeah, why don't you repeat the question, Matt, or just don't worry about it anymore? Because it probably doesn't matter a whole lot what I have to think about it.
Well, before you mentioned that, what I was gonna say is like talking to like the high schoolers that I teach, like it's interesting because I basically like they asked my opinion of it, and I said, look, I personally hated it, but I could see why a lot of y'all might have liked it because there was to me like the production value I thought was actually pretty high. Like I could see like, okay, I could see how this could appeal. It doesn't appeal to me, but I could see how it could appeal to especially, maybe a younger audience or demographic that enjoys that.
I don't mind the rap music and stuff, but I like a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year, I don't know, when the Super Bowl was in LA and they had, Snoop Dogg and Eminem and Dr. Dre and all them up there during the halftime show. I enjoyed that, but I guess that's because those guys were all aging out, and that was rap music that I listened to when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I thought that was a really good halftime show. But this Kendrick Lamar stuff, this Drake stuff, this I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't listen to it. So it's just not for me.
What's a Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm just happy because the most controversial thing that was said and shown was about Drake, and it was about him being a scumbag. So it's like if scumbags are being called out, and if scumbags are actually being looked into because of this, then to me that makes it a win. Like that.
You know what's
that's
sad about that, Odin, is what I found out, at least speculatory, is that the only reason he made a big deal about that bit where he actually like said it right into the camera and was all like clear about it. From what I heard, he was basically pulling a Jim Morrison. It had less to do with him calling out Drake and more to do with the fact that ABC said they wanted him to take those lyrics out. So what he did was basically doing a light my fire moment, is from what I heard.
Okay.
So, take it for what it is. I mean,
you know what? If that's even the case, then you know what? I actually support that too, because like I'm all for censorship to a certain degree when it comes to like language and stuff. Anything where kids are watching, like that's just, again, I'm a Catholic, so I agree with some certain degrees of censorship. However, that to me, it's like you can't say a person's name. Okay, that's ridiculous.
Well, I think there was also some legal implications.
I was going to say the fact that
because they're in the middle of the lawsuit.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
But what struck me about that halftime show is how patriotic it was. It was very much about America, red, white, and blue. Sam Jackson was Uncle Sam.
Not a single BLM reference. Like,
you're reading that.
I was waiting for it the whole time, though, man, and they didn't happen.
You want to school me, salty nerd?
You're reading way in the wrong direction on that. You're looking at the visuals and not actually what was being said.
I couldn't understand what was being said. So
all I know is the motherfucker loves Scrabble. Because all I kept hearing was Scrabble love, Scrabble love, Scrabble love.
if they want to have a Super Bowl halftime show that I'm actually going to like, they need to have Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth.
This is what I was talking about, Dutch.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the best part of the whole Super Bowl. The whole Super Bowl halftime show, the best part was that on social media, what was making the rounds. So let's go there.
Man.
So was Michael Jackson and Prince, to be honest with you. But that being said, point is even Creed I can agree with to a point.
Yay, Jesus rock.
But that was my biggest problem with it, was like, I don't know who this guy is. I'm willing to bet most people don't know who this guy is. It has nothing to do with the style of music, and it has nothing to do with the color of his skin. It has everything to do with the fact that he's not a multi-generational artist yet. Being operative word. I'm not saying he'll never get there, but this is not the platform for somebody at this point, and that's why I feel like it bombed the way it did, is because most people just don't care about this individual, have no sense of who he is, didn't know the songs, didn't care for the songs. And there was some choreography and stuff, but it wasn't anything that would like blow your socks off. And again, I'm not saying it had to be Metallica, right? But I mean, even MC Hammer would make more sense, to be honest with you, because he's more multi-generational.
I think your white
More
privilege
people
is
know
showing,
who he
Tom.
I don't give a shit. I'm just trying to think of the dumbest fucking rapper in the world. That's my point.
Be Vanilla Ice.
No, that's too white. Too
That
white.
would have
Let's
been
get some real rap music, some Vanilla Ice, some Eminem.
Some Vanilla Ice, some Eminem. That's some real rap music.
Right while that
ICP all the way. Yeah.
Right while
When is ICP going to get a fucking
on?
Super Bowl? No, actually, Somebody brought up the perfect Super Bowl. Why has Weird Al Yankovic never gotten to do a Super Bowl
dude.
halftime show yet?
If you want to bring healing, national healing, Weird Al Yankovic needs to do.
Yeah,
Somebody
bro.
like that. Somebody
I would
has
watch
never
that.
gotten a shot, and it's been around for a while, and everybody knows who they are, right? Because that's usually what the Super Bowl halftime show is. It's
Weird Al and
Aerosmith,
Ben
it's
Folds 5.
Prince. There you go.
Yeah.
She's a brick, and she's falling slowly, and Weird Al singing
Dude,
about
he would
chicken
have
pot
so
pie.
he would have so many people that be willing to step up and cameo in it too. Like
Can you
that's
imagine Coolio getting up in the middle of a
Oh, man.
Weird Al
Dead,
set?
no less. Dead. He
Yeah,
would get up
dead.
from his grave
Yeah, from his
and
grave.
show up.
Just
Have
break
a
out the
hologram.
Michael Jackson hologram. Have him do.
They did-
halftime.
yeah,
He's
they
like,
did a
I'm getting out of my
hologram
grave
thing
for
to
that.
do with Tupac.
Come on now.
No, I could just imagine freaking during the Trump era ICE raids and deportations, have freaking Vanilla Ice and be like, ice, ice, baby.
What about Tom McDonald?
Oh,
Oh,
that
that's
would
a
be
pipe, that's a
interesting.
pipe
That's,
dream. Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting one, but I think he's
Again, but he-
too. Not
Yeah.
only certain people. He's like a very specific niche demographic. I don't think he doesn't appeal to a wide enough audience.
He'd get
to
up
have
there
him
with
there.
Roseanne. They bring the house. Ben
I thought
Shapiro
you,
and Tim Pool would show up.
I've
Oh,
got a
God.
great halftime show. Dave Matthews Band at halftime.
There you go.
So,
Definitely would. Definitely wouldn't understand a single. I would understand more from this halftime show than I would from that one.
Yeah,
Or-
with the
or-
Black Crowes.
Nickelback and Creed. That would be another good
There
one.
you go.
He already
That's-
had Creed.
Dude, Nickelback
Dead.
is making a comeback. I'm just saying.
Creed.
All right.
Creed was at a
The
playoff
Nickel
game.
comeback.
Wasn't the Super Bowl?
Oh, it wasn't the Super Bowl? Okay.
No.
Well,
That
that's
sounds
about
gross.
where they belong. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
be real.
Nickel Creed.
Yeah.
Bring it.
So is
wanted.
it Jay-Z they go to for the
He does.
musical?
John's right. Like, because what they do is it's he's the coordinator, and he has been for like 5 years or whatever. They signed
Oh,
him up
I didn't know that.
right
That's
after the Neil thing with what's his face, Kaepernick, so they could get more
Okay.
black acts into.
Yeah, because the last few Super
NFL,
Bowls
yeah.
was it the weekend last year?
No, it was Usher.
Oh, that's right, Usher. It was the weekend before that.
Oh, I forgot all about that one. Yeah.
It was either
So the
the
chances-
weekend or was it,
So I was going to say the chances of your suggestions happening are very slim at the moment, then, aren't they?
Well, once the Diddy files comes out, it's anyone's game, I think.
Maybe get them all up on stage.
Yeah. Speaking of anyone's
That could be-
game, we have Mexican Iron Man showing up
Ah.
for $9.99. I'm late, but I'm here to support. I saw Brave New World. Eek! What a mess of a movie. I can't wait to
Mhm.
hear your rant about it, Mikey. And we got The Beast 808 for $5. Both can be true. Ye can be completely out of his tree, and he would have experienced some wild things perpetuated by a certain group in the industry. Interesting.
Mhm.
We got Babylon 5 is better than Stargate
Terrible
SG-1
name.
for
Terrible
$1.99. Didn't spend a dime. Wasted my bandwidth. Oh, he sailed the high seas.
Uh-huh.
And then we got Mexican Iron Man for a members chat for 23 months, almost 2 years. My biggest problem with the Super Bowl show was the blatant exclusion of whites and non-blacks in the dance crew. Total bullshit. Did you guys see Kid Rock on Bill Maher's show joking about that?
No.
No, I don't want
Look it up. Look it up on X. It's pretty funny. Where like Kid Rock is basically talking about how great it was to see like an all black dance troupe, where he was basically just kind of making fun of Bill Maher's DEI initiatives, calling him subtle racist. It's pretty funny.
Oh man.
I
And that's
didn't.
what-
I honestly, I didn't expect to see any white people dancing at Kendrick Lamar's halftime show. Why would
Yeah.
there be? It's not our music.
Apparently, Serena Williams was there too, and I didn't recognize her. But my
Yeah.
kids, the kids at school, were like, "Oh yeah, did you see Serena?" I'm like, "Serena Williams? Oh, I guess that was
Yeah.
her."
Hey,
crip
Odin,
walking.
Odin, do you know what kids at school don't recognize anymore? It's
Oh,
cable
boy.
television.
Oh yeah.
And
it's
we're
true.
going to talk about the death of cable here because there's some interesting things going on behind the scenes. I don't know how much of our audience really appreciates the cable era, where basically you used to have just like 5 network TV stations, and then cable came along. Then you could have 100 stations, 300 stations, all with content out the wazoo. So there was never something that wasn't available to watch. And Variety has this really interesting article. In fact, I recommend everyone check it out. Link in the description, where it's talking about NBC Universal's moves in order to spin off a lot of its underperforming cable channels into its own company. And it's kind of funny because they call it something, what's it called? It's like SpinCo. Yeah, that's what it is. They're spinning everything off into a company called SpinCo. And when I say spinning off, they're talking about the USA Network, Sci-Fi Channel, MSNBC, all this other stuff. And the article is really interesting because it basically talks about how the entertainment industry rushed into a business model with streaming that didn't have advertising, and the financial revenue model for streaming was really, really stupid. And basically, they eliminated an entire revenue stream from their business model by devaluing cable in favor of streaming services. And so now they went from two very solid revenue streams into one. And we also talked about the decline of physical media and DVD sales. So that's another revenue stream that basically the entertainment industry has nuked from orbit. And they're basically all these self-inflicted wounds that's causing Hollywood to kind of collapse financially. And this article, it's a very long article, but it's also really interesting because it talks about how some of these lesser known cable channels could potentially be really valuable because like they haven't been sending their stuff to streaming, they haven't been licensing it, because all the revenues that these things make go into like bigger things within the company. So like for instance, NBC News, they have MSNBC and all these other things, and all the profits from those things actually go into the news network. And so now that they're being spun off, these news networks now no longer have the financial support or resources of NBC News. And so basically they're a little bit leaner, and they're going to be getting rid of a lot of like the talent that's been getting these like big contracts and stuff like that. But Tom, I want to throw this to you first and foremost, because I want to hear your take on the idea that what this article basically says is that the big studios are just managing the decline of cable, and they don't have any real plans to replace it. So what's your take on that?
Well, that's what streaming should have been, right? Like from the beginning, from the get-go, that should have been their goal, was like, instead of trying to kill theaters, they should have been like, fuck this cable shit. Let's kill that with streaming. Because I've said it time and time again, Disney Plus shouldn't be like the hub for everything Disney. It should have just basically been the Disney Channel 2.0. Right, everything they used to do for the Disney Channel should just carry it over to Disney Plus, because just recently, even in their call they had last week, they're spending billions to only make a few $100 million on streaming at best, right? When the home video industry is still multi-billion-dollar, right? Even Disney alone still makes more than $1 billion on home video. It's like you're looking at it going, why are you spending all this money over here to make nothing? It makes absolutely no sense. And the problem is because they're spending the amount of money they would normally spend for productions that go into theaters on their streaming shows. And as if they just budgeted the crap that's on their streamer and just carried over all their old television content, then it would make more sense. Having all their movies on there at once is stupid. We've said that a million times before. It takes away the value of their movies, especially when you got movies like Bambi right next to Bambi 2. Or Pinocchio and all the other films right next to their straight-to-video crap, or, their other films that didn't do any good. It lessens the value of those former Vault classics. And that Vault used to be huge for Disney, because every 7 years they'd release those movies on home video, and everybody would go get them because they'd be like, well, if I don't get it now, I'm not going to get it. And I've brought this up before, where movies like The Lion King have technically made more money on home video. In some cases, you probably look at it, probably almost twice as much now, I bet, with DVD and Blu-ray now added into the mix. But even on just straight VHS at the time, they did more sales in VHS than they did in theaters. And The Lion King is Disney's highest grossing animated film of all time, without inflation and all that business. But anyhow, and I'm sure even with inflation, it's still probably up there. So like, yeah, this whole thing made no sense for nobody. They're the underwear gnomes in this whole situation. The cable companies are going to, the thing that they have going against them is when you have cable, you're stuck into a contract. Right. So they had people for a while, and now a lot of those people's contracts are coming up. My parents were one of those people. They moved on to Dish and other things. I know other people who've just completely cut off their cable or Dish and just gone straight to streaming at this point, because most people don't have the time of day to give a shit about those little channels that are out there that have a few little shows on them, because they have a hard enough time trying to find Cobra Kai and everything else they want to watch now, right? Because if you want to watch certain movies or TV shows, it's almost like a streaming war now, as we pointed out before, because you got to go to each and every one of their individual places. If you want something from NBC, you got to go to Peacock. You want something from Disney or ABC, you got to go to Disney Plus. If you want something from, Warner Brothers, you got to go to HBO Max. Like it's Paramount Plus, same thing with CBS, it's Paramount Plus. So all these things, it's all their own separate thing now. And it's like, we're spending more on all these put together. But the best part about these streamers and that people can do is they can have one month, shut it off, go to the next one. They watch their shit for 1 month, go to the next one. That's what I do with Netflix. I only have Netflix when certain things are on that I care about. Other than that, I cancel it. Especially for that price. Screw that. And Disney's just as bad because now they're forcing you to watch ads.
Yeah, Tom, what's interesting is that there's a stat in this article that says that at the peak of cable adoption, I think it was up to like 89% of all households in the United States had cable, right? And nowadays it's down to like 67% or something like that. So like it's basically everyone in the entertainment industry and in Wall Street is basically just saying like, yeah, like this is irreversible. People are just going to like habits are changing. Younger generations never subscribe to cable. Like, they're all about YouTube and stuff like that. John, I want to ask you, because I know that where you live, there's the BBC, and it's just like 3 channels. Like that's all the options that you guys have. So do you have anything that you want to talk about in terms of like how the decline of cable could affect Hollywood in general, or in addition to like the adoption of YouTube, where basically like YouTube has supplanted cable in many households?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got the BBC, we've also got Sky, and we've got Virgin. I've got Virgin here. And just to sort of come on to kind of what Tom was saying, but a few years ago, everyone was raving about the fact, I'm just going to cancel my cable or Sky package, when it expires, and I'll get that app and I'll get this app. Now they're finding that when you total up those apps those individual apps, it's probably costing you equivalent to what you're paying on your cable package in the UK anyway. So people are now starting to get more wiser to it, and they're doing what Tom was saying he does, where they'll go, right, I want to watch that show on Netflix. After that, I'll cancel it, and then that'll be gone. I think with regards to cable being in decline, it's definitely happening over here. I think we've got Virgin in the house, and there's very little content on there now, unless you go to YouTube or you go to Netflix. I mean, in our household, the bulk of the stuff is watched on Netflix, YouTube now, or Netflix. The BBC, I mean, let's be honest, BBC's atrocious now, so I wouldn't go there if you force me to. It's just that bad. They've also got, with Sky. Sky's got Sky Movies at the moment, and they've got deals in place with a lot of the studios, but they're coming to an end at the end of the year. So I think you'll find a lot of the movies that Sky were getting as exclusives and programs will suddenly flip to the streaming services. But there's no doubt in the UK that people I talk to, more people are watching YouTube now than they are watching shows on the streaming apps or watching cable or watching Sky. It's really shifted in the last few years. But again, it's no good quality.
I'm one of those people where I'm look, between me and my wife, we spend way too much money on things to put on screens in front of us on our wall. She is absolutely a dead set somehow for some reason against converting to all streaming, and yet we both like to watch sports and stuff. The main reason I keep the cable is because I like to watch hockey. I like to watch our local team, the Golden Knights, here on TV. But one thing I am learning, and I think this is something that is going to start probably changing the face of sports, is that I learned just yesterday by listening to the radio that if the Dallas Stars, an NHL hockey team, they have an app now that they put all of their games on, and they give out for free. This is a brand new thing they just started this year. So if you're a Dallas Stars fan, you can get this app and you can watch all the games. You can just push a button and it's going to stream it from your phone to your television set, and you can watch your hockey game on the TV. Now, if all these sports teams start doing something like that, if I can go get the Golden Knights hockey app and watch all their games on television, there is no reason for me, period, to have cable TV. I'll go get a freaking one of those antennas to get the local news and stuff and watch my hockey that way. And then I'm getting ready to we had football. We had football mainly because my mother-in-law, who recently passed away, was a huge football fan. We wanted her to be able to watch whatever television she wanted. But me and my wife, we're going to have to sit down here in the next week or two and go, okay, what do we want? Do we need cable anymore? We have Cox cable here, but I use it mostly for the internet. That's what we have my internet connection for. So, and I recently have turned off Disney Plus and Hulu because I just didn't watch them. But I want to take that money, and I think I want to turn on YouTube Premium, so I don't have to watch all the stupid ads now. So I'm trying to go back and forth and see what I need to do. Then I'm going to talk to Alex and go, hey, you want to share an account for this thing, and maybe we can, do some finagling and save a little bit of money here and there that way. And the whole system is whacked out, I guess, basically is what I'm trying to say. They don't make it easy, but I think there's ways for us to go out there and take advantage of different ways to get our entertainment to where we're not just shelling out money like crazy to every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a channel. But
yeah, and the people running these spin-offs with all these like kind of declining cable channels, part of their strategy to kind of like survive is to do live sports and create their own streaming apps that are ad supported and stuff like that. But Alex, I want to talk to you about a lot of these cable networks, or I should say studios that run these like vast cable networks. They're not afraid to basically turn off or cancel underperforming channels. So like, for instance, Esquire Channel, Clue, Sleuth, G4, NBC Sports Network, the Universal Kids. These are all cable channels that weren't making enough money, and so they got axed. But I just wonder in this day and age, because you yourself, you said that you're part of the generation that didn't have cable, just watched stuff on YouTube. Part of me wonders, it's like, why don't they just move their become content producers and license out their content to like Netflix, and then like just have like a YouTube channel and get money off the ads there?
Yeah. So just to clarify, I grew up with cable as a kid in my parents' house, but as soon as I was one of the first people to have Netflix. I think I had Netflix in like 2007, like back when you got the DVDs in the mail and you had to like ship them back and forth. Like I believed in what Netflix represented like way back. And when I moved out when I was 19, I never ever got satellite, cable, none of that shit. It was streaming services like Netflix, which I think was one of the only ones that existed back then, or I would just go down to the video store, which we still had video stores here in Vegas, where across the street from my apartment where I first moved. I'd go to the video store across the street and go grab a movie or something like that and come home and watch it. This whole thing with the streaming service is pure greed. And it's so much greed that it's going to end up costing them money, which is it's weird because they're so desperate to get that subscription. Like, oh, we want that monthly subscription. But then they're producing all of this stuff, all these shows that nobody's watching for millions upon millions upon millions of dollars.
Mostly shit.
And nobody's watching it because it's mostly shit and nobody wants to pay for freaking 7 subscriptions. So I think like you're spot on. I think you hit the nail on the head is like what they need to do is a bunch of these people that used to just be producers of content, like WB, with the HBO and all these studios, they need to go back to just making decent products and then selling the license to the streaming services that have stood the test of time, basically things like Netflix and Amazon Video and stuff like that. These people that have like Disney has their own streaming service and Peacock has their own streaming service and Paramount Plus, fuck all that. Just make your movies and then sell the license. Make the movies for cheaper. You don't need
Bro.
to spend $250 million on a freaking movie that's going to get 500,000 views. You know what I mean? Like make
look,
cheaper movies. Go ahead, Dutch. What's up?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but they had the fucking Super Bowl on Tubi this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tubi.
That's how I watched it.
That's how I watched it. Yeah.
That's
Well,
crazy.
and that's the kind of stuff that's making my dad get away from cable and satellite, right? Like he would be a diehard if it wasn't for that kind of crap, and he hates it. He's pissed about it, but it's basically forcing him to move on. So now he's got some digital service that I don't really think is all that great, but whatever, he's happy with it. That's a streaming cable setup deal. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah. And the Super Bowl being on Tubi this year, he griped about, because I do know you have a super chat that kind of addresses this about boomers keeping cable alive, and that's only going to last as long as some of these boomers are still alive.
Sure.
Yeah.
And not only that, some of them are being forced, like my dad being 60 some, almost 70 years old.
Well,
And being forced to switch over to internet stuff.
I want to throw this to Odin, because Odin, this seems to be just in a comedy of errors, yet another self-inflicted wound by the entertainment industry. So they basically nuked the theater chains, right? By going direct to streaming. They nuked the DVD market, and now they're nuking the cable market. It's almost like they're trying to commit seppuku and kill themselves slowly over time. Why do you think the people in Hollywood are so stupid that they can't see that they're basically destroying all their revenue streams?
They're also, you could argue, destroying the streaming market too. So it's like they have almost got to the point now where their revenue streams are starting to ever shrink. And so hopefully they start to, open up to the fact that they need to start to revisit some of these, more quote antiquated revenue streams, because soon they're not going to have anything left. But yeah, I mean, I know that when it comes to the cable side of things, right, it is definitely a dying package, dying industry. But I do agree that the boomers are definitely keeping it alive. But it's also, they know how to keep the boomers in. Like, they know how to keep it from them canceling. Because I mention it to my parents all the time. I'm like, why do y'all still have, Cox Cable? Why are y'all still using these things? And they'll list all the different things that they enjoy about it. But the other thing that always comes up is that my mom will say, it's like, well, actually, every time I call to mention anything, I get a discount. And that's how they keep them in, because basically, if you call to cancel cable, if you call to cancel internet and everything like that, they will give you like massive discount to keep you on.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I got to say this. So last week I was on the show and I said, I'm canceling Disney Plus.
That's right. Yeah.
So I did. I went in right after the show, and I canceled Disney Plus, and I go, cancel my subscription, please. And I pushed a button, and they're saying, are you sure you want to go? We'd really like to see you stay. And then the next button is cancel your cancellation or cancel. So you push cancel again. And then they go, are you really, really super duper sure you want to stay? And you say, yes, get me the fuck out of here. I don't want your stupid channel. So you push the cancel button again. The third screen, I'm not even lying. The third screen is, look, we really, really want you to stay. We'll give you all the channels the Disney channels have that you want for only $6.99 a month for the next 3 months if you stay and stick around, and you get your it was the package thing. And I'm like, at that one, I'm like, $6.99? I can get my stuff for $6.99 a month. And I said, no, fuck you. And I pushed cancel. And then finally, after 4 times of pushing the cancel button, I finally got out and they canceled my subscription. But they do. They really want you to stay. It was $6.99 for 3 months, and then it went back to the original price. So my question is, if you do the $6.99 a month for 3 months, and you go back to the original pay, and you push cancel again, are you going to get the $6.99 a month deal again afterward? Yeah. So basically, you can just do the $6.99 a month for the Hulu Disney ESPN package. I mean, that's crazy.
It would surprise me, because they would do anything just as long as they've got you, as long as they've got a payment, as long as they're getting even just a few dollars from you. I mean, you got to think about how overpriced a lot of these subscription services probably are. They can easily afford to offer it at a less rate. It is better for them to have 20 people paying half the rate than to lose those 20 people altogether. So they would much rather,
at least, because they're still making a little bit of money. But that was the point I was getting at, Odin. Like, with the amount of money that they're still and they would be making God knows how much more money on physical media if you actually could find it anywhere, right? Like, that's the thing. And they almost kind of admitted defeat on trying to end physical media too soon. They didn't say, "Oh, we're going to revamp and restructure and come back, with more physical media." No, they said they signed a deal with Sony, and that was basically them saying, "Yeah, we conceded and said we can't dump physical media yet. We can't afford it." Well, no, you can't afford it when you're spending billions of dollars on streaming, as I said before, and literally only making like $200-300 million is really all they cleared. A year,
You know who can't afford it, Tom? Our super chatters.
Oh.
You got Shorty Short for $1.99. I
Well, this is
work
what I
for a
was
cable
referring to,
provider.
yeah.
Mhm.
Boomers are saving cable.
Mhm.
So you hear that, Dutch Butters? You single-handedly.
He's
are
not a
saving
boomer.
Well,
He's a Gen
but you
Xer.
know,
My parents are. I could say that.
I'm not
for
a
sure.
boomer, but yeah, you're not wrong. But we're gonna have to make some decisions here very soon, because I have no use for cable TV anymore. I really don't. Other than we have the package together with my internet. So I don't know. I guess I'll just have to like go to Cox and go, "Hey, I just want your internet." But then they're gonna go, "Well, we'll give you the cable deal for only $19.99 a month for your tier 1 or some shit." And my wife will go, "Oh, that sounds like a good deal." And then 3 months later it's $120, and you're not thinking about it. So I don't know.
I don't know what you guys think about cable in the US, but certainly in the UK as well, and this is part of it, that the actual tech has really gone downhill in the last sort of 5-10 years. I mean, it used to be a time you get a new box, but it's a reconfigured, rebuilt box you get from Virgin these days. If they're coming out to do your subscription, and half the time it will just crash, and it will take you 10-15 minutes to get it back up when you're trying to watch something, and you'll be like, and then all of a sudden it goes, "Thank you, we've done the update," and it's like, but it doesn't tell you it's doing an update. It just crashes the whole system to do the update, because it's just not built to do that. It's really clunky stuff. So I don't know if it's the same in the US, but the tech is just not up to par.
We've hit a problem in the US, especially with at least broadcasting, is that unless you're pretty much streaming through some sort of high-powered cable system, most channels are at 720p tops as far as quality wise, because they just can't pump the amount. Like 4K television will never be a thing, probably not for the next 10, 20, 30 years at least. And even then it'll be mostly streaming already anyway, so we won't have noticed it, right? It'll 4K. Come in sooner. Yeah, it'll be 4K. It'll start with like football games, and because they did do the Olympics broadcast in 8K, but only like 5 TVs in the whole planet can play it. But yeah,
highly compressed.
Speaking of compressed, we got Major Chai Chai, for a member for 13 months. Did you guys watch The Gorge on Apple TV? What did you think? I found it meh. An interesting premise that devolved into a generic action movie. I've been looking forward to this movie. Me and Jude want to watch it tonight, as a matter of fact. But it looked really cool. It's got a cool premise. To hear that it's just meh, that's not surprising for Apple TV. Alex, what were you going to say about it?
Oh, I saw the trailer for it. It looked really good. It's funny. A buddy of mine, he watches at this point in time. He watches a lot more TV shows than I do, and he's like, "Don't you have a podcast where you talk about TV shows?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't got time for that shit." So he's telling me that Apple TV's been like knocking it out of the park. He's like, all the shows that I really like are all on Apple TV.
Yeah,
and
Apple
I saw the
has
trailer.
A lot of good stuff.
Mythic Quest
I saw the trailer.
is back.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
Oh, okay, cool.
Ooh,
Yep,
I gotta
4th
check that
season.
out. Nice.
4th season.
Yeah, I need to make some time to watch some TV shows, catch up on a couple of things. But yeah, I saw the trailer for this and it looked really intriguing. So I'm interested in checking it out as well. I hope it's not just meh.
Apple TV is a sleeper service because they don't do any advertising. It's run really poorly, but they have some of the best shows on there. So definitely worth checking out. Also, Nightmare for $2. Streaming seems worse than cable sometimes. Yep. It's all a crap show right now, I believe. That's just me. Real quick, guys, before we head out of here, I just want to say that sound you heard yesterday was every entertainment YouTuber cheering in delight because they heard that Rings of Power has been renewed for season 3 officially, which means that a lot of the people in our space are going to be gainfully employed for at least another year, making that sweet anti-Rings of Power money.
Gary just
put a ticket in it, make her gay.
Yeah, real quick, guys. What's your take on season 3 of Rings of Power?
No one's gonna watch it.
Panel.
Nobody
No
but the
interest in
people who are
life.
making content off of it.
Yeah, I'll watch it, but no one else is.
Aren't they jumping like 15 years ahead or some shit like that? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they're doing
Something.
a time jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard we're gonna
When-
get to watch Sauron make the One Ring. Ooh, that's gonna be awesome! Can't wait.
When
already in
do
the
you
book.
think it's going to be viable for them to actually buy their way out of this contract? Because what is it?
Probably
Did they
next
sign a 5-season? Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
just what is it? They lost 60% of viewership from season 1 to season 2, something like that.
Netflix
And-
dipped out of Star Trek Discovery. What was it, between season 3 and 4, or was it after season 4? I can't remember,
was-
Matt. But
I thought
Yeah,
it was 2 and 3. 3 was the last
no,
one.
it was
that
after
produced by Netflix,
3.
wasn't it?
3 was the last one then. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like my guess is it's kind of probably a similar deal to where they'll probably get to that point where they'll be like, no, enough of this.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because isn't like when the correct me if anybody on there who knows the similarity, I can't say that word. but You know what? Yeah, thank you.
Silmarillion?
He makes the ring on Numenor. Are they on Numenor in any of the show? Numenor, whatever you want to say. They're not even
like
on the
old
island.
Numenor.
Someone,
but not
I'm shaking my
Numenor.
head at you. Someone who's
Old Numenor
never
doesn't
watched
smell
Rings
like
of
that.
Power. How dare you?
Oh,
No, I've never
reads all
watched
these
it. Are
books
they
for
on the
kids,
island?
you know.
Have they gone to the island where?
Yeah.
Yes.
They have. Okay. All
Yes.
right. Well, at least they're doing something
Did,
semi-right.
But didn't Sauron craft the One Ring first and then made
Look,
all the
you
other
have not
rings?
seen
No.
what she has seen, okay?
No, if I'm remembering my lore correctly, and forgive me, it has been a long time since I've looked into it. He goes to the island and like plays a trick on the inhabitants there, and then makes the ring in secret, all of them, and then makes the One Ring of Power after the fact, after he's divvied out all the other ones, so that he can control all those people. Like it was like a weird subterfuge, like sneaky thing that he did on the island. And I think the island. I'm sorry, wasn't the ring created in Mount Doom, right? That's because that's the
Yeah.
only way it had to be destroyed was in Mount Doom. So he had to. I don't know. I'm mixing up my lore at this point now. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, where it was forged.
Yeah, it had to have been forged in
Well,
Mount Doom.
we're
he
forging
made-
our own lore with super chats real quick. We got
There you go.
Dave T. Get It for $5 for the panelists. Considering what you do on YouTube, can you not write off streaming cable costs as business expenses? Yes, we can.
Yeah, you
actually.
can.
You have to
Well-
make enough money to write shit off first, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not Salty Nerd are just about to announce their Rumble multi-million-pound deal in the next few days. So
No, we have to get canceled off of here first.
And
And
the
bring
What
our
beast,
about
fans
Kanye
in-
some more? We can get canceled.
And then,
Yeah.
then we'll bring our dozens of fans over to our Rumble channel with us.
Yeah. the Beast 808 for $2. There's a tampon in her or something.
Wow.
Not a tempest, a tampon. All right, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds and all of our super chatters. Odin of OMB Reviews, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, you can find me over on OMB Reviews on YouTube and on Rumble as well, if you're there. For the few people that actually watch the channel there, but primarily on YouTube, also on Twix as well. OMB Reviews and Box Office Breakdown tomorrow, sometime around 3 p.m. is when that video will post. I imagine we'll be talking about how little money has been made by Captain America 4, and we'll be breaking through some of the more nonsense from Tony, I imagine, who will probably be having some kind of narrative of, oh, it's the highest thing in the Captain America franchise ever, or something similar to that. But anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Watched by
and
dogs.
watched by the doggies. But thanks as always for having me.
And Tom Connors Jr., any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
I can't wait not to watch Captain America, the biggest movie ever released on a Valentine's weekend that was not occupied by a Deadpool or a horror film that wasn't
In
starring
a leap year, not a
somebody
leap year.
in a leap year on the hair of the dog.
And Jon Youlden, first time on the show. Hope we didn't scare you off. Any final
No,
thoughts?
thanks,
Where can
guys.
people find more of you?
Yeah, you can find me on Sci-Fi Chronicles on YouTube, where I'm doing sort of movie reviews, as I mentioned earlier. And you can also find me on Saturday nights on the Spacebook on YouTube, talking about movie and entertainment stuff. And then finally, Type 40, which is a Doctor Who channel, good Doctor Who. We don't talk about bad Doctor Who, I promise. Okay. And that's where you can find me. So, thanks, guys. It's been great fun. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Yep.
you Brits and your Doctor Who's. Okay.
I'm still having therapy about what they've done to Doctor Who.
Well, links to John's channels are in the description and in the chat. Alex, the Salty Nerd, any final thoughts? And what do we have going on the Salty Nerd channel?
I don't know. Clips from this show mostly. We are meeting. I think we're meeting this Tuesday as a group to kind of discuss the future of the SMP. What we used to do is sit down and talk about old shitty movies and have a great time doing it. However, YouTube didn't like that too much because we got like 150 views maybe. So if you want to support what we started off doing in the beginning, please check out the channel. Hopefully, we'll be putting out some new content pretty soon as far as the movie reviews go. But go to Salty Nerd Gaming. That channel is growing. We're having a ton of fun doing Helldiver stuff, and saltynerdiscord.com is where we congregate to talk about all things games. So go there. And right now I'm watching this glorious video on X. I forgot my X login on my phone, so I haven't used it. So I'm on my desktop and I'm scrolling. This is brilliant stuff.
I'll let you know what your login is after we go off, yeah.
I don't remember. Anyway, thank you all so much. Having over 300, 200 people watching this show is really amazing. You guys have done a great job. Dutch is back now. Have we announced that Dutch is back?
No, we haven't.
No? Okay. Because somebody screwed him over with his schedule change. And now they were like, oh, never mind.
Well, I was going to let Dutch say that.
Oh,
Alex,
sorry.
but
Wow.
Okay. I already said something in the chat, so it was okay. But yes, I am back.
Dutch Butters, any final thoughts and your special announcement? You are returning to Salty Saturday.
Salty already took the Salty Nerd Gaming thing, but yeah, I do go over there, Salty Nerd Gaming, and have fun with us and check it out, play some games. And I'm looking for a new game to play. I'm really burned out on Helldivers at the moment, but we are still going to be playing Helldivers on streams for a while until I find something new to play that I enjoy playing. It is fun. I enjoy hanging out with our crew, and it's a lot of fun. But yes, I am back now on Salty Saturday mornings. Happy to be here with you guys so I can sit here and pound my head against my desk when Kadish asks me really stupid questions that I don't have.
Or just ignore when I throw it to you.
Yeah. Well, you do it so rarely, and I'm always last, and everybody else has already said all the things that I was probably maybe going to say ahead of time. But I'll just go, yeah, what Odin said. That works perfectly. So yeah. So
well, when I throw it to you first, you're like, why are you asking me?
Yeah, exactly, because you never thought. And I love what we do. I love what we do here. I have a lot of fun. I don't mind being the silent sidekick sometimes, even though don't ever call me a sidekick or I'll kick your ass. And yeah, man, I love this show. I love what we do, and it's a ton of fun. So.
All right. Speaking of tons of fun, I want to thank everyone who gave us a super chat during the course of the show. Scotty Dub, Fluffy Panda, Babylon 5 is better than Stargate SG-1,
terrible name.
Mark of Reality, Made You Say Butts, Culture Casino, Mexican Iron Man, The Beast 808, Shorty Short, Nightmare, and Dave T. Get It. Guys, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate you guys tuning in every week, giving us those super chats. It keeps us going, and we love you for it. So be sure to tune in next week. Same salty time, same salty channel. And Alex, take it away.
Stay salty, my friends.